With $47,000 in medical debt and a younger brother fighting cancer, Maya Thompson is barely surviving on 2 jobs and 3 hours of sleep, until a Korean billionaire CEO walks into her hotel and she makes one catastrophic assumption that changes everything. She thinks he's gay. She thinks she's safe. She's wrong on both counts. At 24, Maya Thompson had mastered the art of functioning on fumes. She balanced trays of champagne flutes with the same steady hands that typed event proposals at 3 in the morning, coordinated flower deliveries with vendors who spoke 4 different languages, and smiled through exhaustion that had become her permanent state. Her natural hair was pulled back in elegant Marley twists today, professional and polished, though she'd done them herself at midnight between her hotel shift and her weekend catering gig, because salon visits were a luxury from another lifetime. She was an event coordinator at the Bellevue Grand, one of Seattle's most exclusive hotels, which sounded impressive until you realized the salary barely covered her studio apartment and her brother's medical bills devoured everything else. The dreams she'd had at 20, fresh out of university with her hospitality degree and a vision of owning her own event planning company, felt like they belonged to someone else now. That Maya had believed in possibilities. This Maya believed in survival. Her younger brother Dante was 17 and fighting acute lymphoblastic leukemia at Seattle Children's Hospital, and every coordination fee, every tip, every overtime hour went straight to the medical center's billing department. $47,000 in debt and climbing. The number haunted her dreams. She stood in the hotel's grand ballroom now, clipboard in hand, watching the setup crew arrange tables for tomorrow's Global Tech Innovation Summit. 200 guests, 50 companies, $10 million in potential deals. No room for error. Her supervisor had been clear about that. Where are you watching from? Seattle, New York, maybe somewhere overseas where the rain feels different, but the struggle might be the same. Maya wondered sometimes if exhaustion had a geography or if it was universal. The ballroom doors opened with the kind of quiet authority that made people turn and look. Maya glanced up from her seating chart and felt the air shift. 3 men entered. No, 1 man entered. The other 2 were clearly security, moving with that distinctive hyper-awareness of trained bodyguards. But the man between them commanded attention without trying. Korean, probably mid to late 30s, dressed in a suit that cost more than Maya made in 6 months. She'd coordinated enough luxury events to recognize bespoke tailoring when she saw it. The charcoal fabric moved with him like water, perfectly fitted to his tall frame, sharp shoulders, and lean build. His features were striking in that controlled way some men had, all clean lines and elegant bones, dark hair styled back from his face, dark eyes that seemed to catalog everything in a single sweep of the room. He moved with deliberate precision, each step measured, nothing wasted. But what caught Maya's attention, what made her relax her professional guard just slightly, was the man beside him. Not the bodyguards. The other man. Younger, maybe early 30s, white, wearing equally expensive clothing, but with an ease that suggested old money comfort. He walked close to the Korean man's left side, their shoulders nearly touching, and when the Korean man paused to examine the room layout, the other man leaned in and murmured something that made the corner of the Korean man's mouth lift in what might have been amusement. Oh, Maya thought. Oh, that's sweet. She'd seen plenty of couples at the hotel, but there was something about the quiet intimacy between these 2 that felt genuine. The way the younger man anticipated the Korean man's movements, shifted a water glass closer without being asked, touched his elbow briefly when pointing out the stage setup. The Korean man's complete comfort with the proximity, the casual way he listened when the other man spoke, his attention fully focused like nothing else existed. Maya felt herself smile. It was rare to see that kind of ease between partners in these corporate spaces where everyone performed their roles with careful precision. Her assistant coordinator rushed over, tablet glowing with the guest list. Mr. Park Ji-hun just arrived early, the young woman whispered urgently. Park Ji-hun, CEO of Park Industries, the Korean tech giant. He's the keynote speaker tomorrow, and he wanted to review the setup personally. Maya, he's worth like $12 billion. Maya nodded calmly, though internally she was recalculating every detail of tomorrow's arrangements. She approached the 3 men with her professional smile firmly in place, the one that said competent and unflappable even when she'd slept 90 minutes and her feet were screaming. Mr. Park, she said, extending her hand. Maya Thompson, Senior Event Coordinator. Welcome to the Bellevue Grand. We're honored to host the summit. His hand was warm, his grip firm but brief, and when his dark eyes met hers, she felt the full weight of his focus. Unsettling in its intensity, like being studied by someone who missed nothing. Miss Thompson, he said. His English was perfect, barely accented, his voice low and controlled. I wanted to review the arrangements before tomorrow. Of course. Maya gestured toward the stage area. We have the presentation system you requested, dual screens, the lapel microphone you prefer based on your previous events, and we've arranged the lighting to minimize glare per your team's specifications. The younger man, Daniel according to his badge, smiled at her. You've done your homework. We try to anticipate needs, Maya replied. Creates smoother experiences. She walked them through the setup, explaining sight lines and acoustics, demonstrating the presentation remote, confirming catering times. Park Jae-hun asked precise questions that revealed he'd actually read the technical specifications she'd sent. Most executives delegated that level of detail. He cared about the mechanics. And when she explained the contingency plan for the flower delivery that was running late due to weather delays, his expression shifted to something that might have been approval. You have backups, he observed. Always, Maya confirmed. The vendor we use promised delivery by 6 tonight, but I've secured an alternate source if they can't deliver by 4. The ballroom will look exactly as planned regardless of complications. Complications, Daniel repeated, glancing at Jae-hun with obvious affection. That's optimistic phrasing for disasters waiting to happen. Jae-hun's mouth curved very slightly. Disaster mitigation is undervalued. They continued the walkthrough, and Maya found herself relaxing further. There was something almost comfortable about their presence. Jae-hun was exacting but not unreasonable, his questions intelligent, his expectations clear. And the dynamic between him and Daniel was frankly endearing. The little gestures of care. The way Daniel handed him a bottle of water without being asked. The way Jae-hun listened when Daniel pointed out a potential bottleneck in the registration flow. When they paused near the refreshment station, Daniel pulled out his phone to handle what sounded like a scheduling conflict, and Jae-hun turned his full attention to Maya. You look tired, Miss Thompson. The observation was so unexpected and so accurate that Maya almost laughed. She caught herself and kept her professional mask in place. Event coordination keeps me busy, Mr. Park. That's not business tired, he said quietly. His eyes tracked her face with uncomfortable precision. That's life tired. Maya felt suddenly exposed. She'd gotten very good at hiding the exhaustion, the stress, the bone-deep weariness that came from watching her little brother suffer while she juggled bills she couldn't pay. But this man saw through it in 30 seconds. I manage, she said, her voice steady despite the way her stomach tightened. The bruise, he said, and Maya's heart stopped. On your wrist. The concealer doesn't quite cover it. She glanced down reflexively. She'd thought she'd hidden it. The vendor who'd grabbed her arm last week when she'd rejected his inflated pricing, his fingers digging in hard enough to leave marks. She'd handled it. Filed a complaint with her supervisor. Switched vendors. Moved on. I'm clumsy, Maya said automatically. No, Jae-hun said. His voice was still quiet, still controlled, but something in his eyes had gone very cold. You're not. The moment stretched between them, taut and uncomfortable. Maya wanted to deflect, to laugh it off, to redirect the conversation to safe professional territory. But he held her gaze with that unnerving focus and waited. It's handled, she finally said. The situation is resolved. Is it? It wasn't a question. It was a statement of doubt, flat and certain. Before Maya could respond, Daniel returned, sliding his phone into his pocket. All set for the morning meetings, he told Jae-hun, then smiled at Maya. You've really thought of everything here. Most coordinators miss half these details. Maya seized the escape route gratefully. We aim for seamless experiences. Tomorrow should run smoothly. Jae-hun pulled a card from his jacket pocket. Black, expensive stock, embossed lettering. He held it out to her. When you need help, Miss Thompson, call me. Maya took the card reflexively, confused. I appreciate that, Mr. Park, but I assure you everything for tomorrow is under control. Not for tomorrow, he said. His eyes held hers. For whatever put that bruise on your wrist. For whatever is making you run on empty. When you're ready to stop handling everything alone, call me. Maya stared at him. This was surreal. A billionaire CEO offering help to a hotel coordinator he'd just met. It was the kind of gesture that would have set off every warning bell if she didn't think he was safely unavailable. That's very kind, she managed. Really? But I'm fine. You're surviving, Jehun corrected quietly. There's a difference. Daniel touched Jehun's elbow gently, a clear signal they needed to move on. Jehun nodded slightly, but didn't break eye contact with Maya. The offer stands, he said. Then they were gone, security detail falling into formation, Daniel and Jehun walking close enough that their shoulders brushed, and Maya was left standing in the empty ballroom, holding a business card that felt heavier than it should. She looked down at it. Park Jehun, CEO, Park Industries. A phone number. And handwritten on the back in precise script. No strings. Just help when you need it. Maya slipped the card into her pocket and went back to work. It was sweet, really. A kind gesture from someone who clearly cared about people despite his intimidating presence. She appreciated it. And she absolutely would not use it because she'd learned a long time ago that help always came with strings whether people admitted it or not. But it was nice that he'd offered. Nice that someone had noticed she was drowning even when she thought she'd hidden it so well. Nice that he seemed like a good person under all that controlled intensity. She was glad he had Daniel. Everyone deserved someone who looked at them the way Daniel looked at Jehun, with such obvious affection and care. She finished her checklist and headed home to her studio apartment where the medical bills were stacked on the counter and her brother's latest treatment schedule was taped to the fridge. Tomorrow's event would be perfect. She'd make sure of it. And after that she had another catering shift and then maybe 4 hours of sleep before starting the cycle again. The business card stayed in her pocket. A kind gesture from a safe stranger. Nothing more. The Global Tech Innovation Summit went flawlessly. Maya coordinated 200 guests, managed 3 last-minute speaker changes, and solved a catering crisis involving shellfish allergies with a kind of calm efficiency that made her supervisor actually compliment her work. Park Jehun delivered his keynote on artificial intelligence and global infrastructure with the same controlled precision he'd shown during the walkthrough. And when he left the hotel that evening, Daniel at his side as always, he nodded to Maya across the lobby with what might have been approval. The business card stayed in her purse. Untouched, but present. 3 days later, everything fell apart. Maya was reviewing proposals for an upcoming wedding reception when her phone rang. Seattle Children's Hospital. Her stomach dropped before she even answered. Ms. Thompson, this is Dr. Patel. We need you to come in immediately. The emergency room waiting area smelled like disinfectant and fear. Maya sat with her hands clenched in her lap, while doctors explained that Dante's white blood cell count had crashed. His body was rejecting the current treatment protocol, and they needed to start an aggressive new chemotherapy regimen immediately. Immediately meaning today. Immediately meaning $30,000 up front before they could begin. We've been working with your payment plan, Dr. Patel said gently, but this treatment isn't covered under your current arrangement. We need confirmation of funds before we can proceed. I don't have $30,000, Maya said. Her voice sounded distant even to her own ears. I have $47,000 in existing medical debt. I work 2 jobs. I don't have it. The doctor's expression was sympathetic but firm. Then we need to discuss alternative options. There are county programs, payment assistance, but those take time to process and Dante's condition is critical. We need to start treatment within 48 hours. Maya left the hospital in a daze. 48 hours. She had 48 hours to produce $30,000 or watch her baby brother die because she couldn't afford to save him. She drove home on autopilot and sat in her studio apartment staring at the medical bills stacked on her counter. She had $3,000 in savings. $3,000 against $30,000 needed. The math was impossible. By midnight, desperation had overridden pride. Maya opened her laptop and searched for emergency loans. The legitimate lenders took weeks to process and required credit scores she didn't have after years of medical debt. The illegitimate ones had interest rates that would trap her forever. But forever didn't matter if Dante died in 48 hours. She found a number, made the call. A man with a rough voice told her to come to an address in South Seattle, bring identification, be prepared to discuss terms. Maya knew it was stupid, knew it was dangerous. Did it anyway because what choice did she have? The next evening, she left work early and drove to an industrial area near the shipyards. The building was unmarked, windows dark, exactly the kind of place her mother would have told her to run from. Maya walked in anyway. 3 men sat around a metal table in a concrete room. The one in the center, older with scarred knuckles and cold eyes, gestured to the chair across from him. Maya Thompson, he said, reading from a paper in front of him. Event coordinator. 24. Brother in Children's Hospital. Need $30,000. Interest rate is 40%. Payment plan is 18 months. Miss a payment, and we take collateral. What collateral? Maya asked. I don't own anything. The man smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Everyone owns something we want, sweetheart. Maya's skin crawled, but she forced herself to stay seated. What are the terms? They laid it out. 40% interest meant she'd owe $42,000 total. 18 months meant payments of $2,300 monthly, on top of her existing bills and her brother's ongoing care. The math didn't work. She'd never make the payments. She knew it. They knew it. And when she failed, they'd take their collateral. Her, most likely. There were markets for that. She'd heard the stories. I need to think about it, Maya said, standing up. You got 24 hours, the scarred man said. After that, offer expires. Maya left before they could see her hands shaking. She sat in her car in the parking lot and tried to breathe through the panic. This was insane. She couldn't take money from loan sharks. But she couldn't let Dante die either. Her phone buzzed. Text from the hospital. Reminder that she had 36 hours to confirm payment. Maya pulled out her purse looking for her own phone charger, and the black business card fell out. Park Ji-hun's card. The handwritten note on the back. No strings. Just help when you need it. She stared at it for a long moment. Then she put the car in gear and drove toward her apartment, the card back in her purse, her mind spinning with impossible choices. She didn't see the dark sedan that had been parked 3 spaces away start its engine and follow her. The parking garage beneath her apartment building was dimly lit and mostly empty at 7 in the evening. Maya parked in her assigned spot and gathered her work bag, already mentally calculating if she could pick up extra catering shifts this weekend to start building any kind of financial cushion. The footsteps behind her were heavy and deliberate. Maya, a voice called. Maya Thompson. She turned. 3 men. Not the same ones from the loan shark meeting, but they had the same energy, the same predatory assessment. Her heart started hammering. You came by our office yesterday, the one in front said. Asked about a loan. I'm still considering my options, Maya said, keeping her voice level despite the fear crawling up her spine. See, that's the thing. The man stepped closer. We already did the background check. You're a good investment. Young, healthy, no family except the sick brother. If you can't make payments, you're worth at least $10,000 on the market. Maybe more. You've got that exotic look some buyers like. Maya's blood turned to ice. I haven't agreed to anything. But you will, he said, smiling. Because your brother needs that money and we're your only option. So here's how this works. You take the loan. You make payments. And if you can't, well, you already know what happens. I need to think, Maya repeated, backing toward her car. No more thinking time. The man pulled out a phone. We process the paperwork tonight, or we tell our competitors about this opportunity. Trust me, their terms are worse. 2 more men appeared from behind the concrete pillars. 5 total now. Surrounding her. Maya's breath came short and fast. This was bad. This was really bad. They weren't giving her a choice anymore. They were taking it. She should scream. Should run. Should do something. But her body felt frozen, her mind screaming while her limbs refused to cooperate. Then a car door opened 2 rows over. Not just any car. A black Mercedes SUV with tinted windows that screamed money and security. A man stepped out. Not one of the loan sharks. This one wore a crisp suit and moved with the controlled awareness of professional security. Miss Thompson, he called. Mr. Park sent me to ensure you arrived home safely. The loan sharks tensed. The one in front glanced between Maya and the driver, calculating odds. The driver stepped closer, and now Maya could see the outline of a weapon beneath his jacket. He didn't touch it. Didn't need to. The message was clear. Miss Thompson, the driver repeated. If you'll come with me. I don't know you, Maya said, though relief and continued fear warred in her chest. Mr. Park anticipated you might need assistance. I'm instructed to ensure your safety. One of the loan sharks spat on the ground. She owes us consideration of our offer. The driver's expression didn't change. She owes you nothing. Leave now, or I make a phone call that ensures you're unable to conduct business in this city again. The scarred man from the office yesterday appeared from the stairwell. We have territorial rights here. The driver pulled out his phone with deliberate slowness. One call. That's all it takes. There was a long, tense moment where Maya thought violence was inevitable. Then the scarred man jerked his head at his associates. Opportunity passed, he said to Maya. You needed money. You waited too long. Good luck with your brother. They left, all 5 of them, melting back into the shadows of the parking garage like they'd never been there. Maya sagged against her car, adrenaline making her hands shake so hard she nearly dropped her keys. The driver approached carefully, hands visible. Miss Thompson, I apologize for the intrusion. Mr. Park asked me to maintain discreet surveillance after the summit. He was concerned about your safety. He's been having me followed, Maya said. It should have made her angry. Instead, she felt oddly grateful. He's been ensuring you're protected, the driver corrected gently. There's a difference. May I escort you upstairs? Why, Maya asked. Why would he do this? The driver's expression softened very slightly. Mr. Park recognizes when someone is in danger. He prefers to prevent problems rather than solve them after damage is done. Will you come with me, Miss Thompson? He'd like to speak with you. Maya looked at the empty parking garage, at the shadows where dangerous men had just stood, at the 24 hours she had left to save her brother. She thought about the black business card in her purse. No strings. Just help when you need it. She nodded. Take me to him. The penthouse suite at the Fairmont Olympic was exactly what Maya expected from a billionaire. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay, minimalist furniture that probably cost more than her yearly salary, art on the walls that looked original and priceless. But what caught her attention was the presence of 2 people, not one. Park Ji-hun stood near the windows, still in his business suit though he'd removed the jacket and rolled his sleeves to his elbows. And beside him, looking concerned and gentle, was Daniel. Maya felt her shoulders knot slightly. Daniel's presence made this safer somehow. Whatever Ji-hun wanted, it wasn't anything inappropriate. Not with his partner right there. Miss Thompson, Ji-hun said, turning from the window. His dark eyes tracked her face, cataloging her fear and exhaustion with uncomfortable precision. Are you hurt? No, Maya said. Your driver intervened before anything happened. Daniel moved to the sidebar and poured water into a crystal glass. You should sit, he said gently. You look ready to collapse. Maya accepted the water and the seat on the leather sofa, because her legs were shaking too badly to stand. How long have you been having me followed? 3 days, Ji-hun said without apology. Since the summit. I recognize the signs of someone in crisis, and I've learned it's better to prepare than react. That's invasive, Maya said, but without heat. She was too tired to be properly angry. It's protective, Ji-hun corrected, echoing his driver's words. He moved to stand in front of her, not looming but present, his focus absolute. You went to a loan shark yesterday. You met with violent criminals about money you need desperately. The terms they offered would have destroyed your life. How do you know what terms they offered? Maya demanded. Because I know who they are and how they operate. Daniel sat in the chair across from her, his expression sympathetic. They don't actually want you to repay the loan, Maya. They want you to default so they can take what you're really worth to them. Maya felt sick. I need $30,000 in 36 hours, or my brother dies. What choice do I have? You have the choice you've been avoiding, Ji-hun said quietly. You call the number on the card I gave you, and you accept help from someone with the resources to provide it without destroying you in the process. I can't pay you back either, Maya said, the words bitter. I'm already drowning in debt. Taking money from you just trades one kind of trap for another. Who said anything about paying back? Daniel asked gently. Maya stared at him. What? Ji-hun moved to his desk and withdrew a folder. He opened it and extracted several documents, laying them on the coffee table in front of Maya with precise care. This is a proposal, Miss Thompson. Not a loan. An employment offer. I already have a job, Maya said. One that barely covers your rent while your brother's medical bills bury you. Ji-hun sat in the chair next to Daniel, his posture controlled and formal. I'm offering you a different arrangement. I need a personal event coordinator. Someone who manages all my business functions, galas, investor dinners, corporate retreats. Someone with your skill level and discretion. You have people for that, Maya said. Your company has event staff. No one with your particular combination of competence and desperation, Jehun said bluntly. I need someone loyal. Someone who understands that my business involves sensitive situations requiring absolute discretion. Someone who will owe me enough to ensure that loyalty. Maya's stomach twisted. So this is buying my silence about something. This is offering you security in exchange for services rendered, Daniel said. There's a difference. Jehun slid the first document toward her. $200,000, paid immediately to Seattle Children's Hospital for your brother's treatment. Full coverage of all his ongoing care for the next 5 years regardless of cost. That eliminates your crisis and your existing debt. Maya's hands trembled as she picked up the paper. The numbers were real, legally binding. She looked up at Jehun, trying to understand the catch. In exchange, he continued, you accept a position as my personal event coordinator at a salary of $150,000 annually. You receive a living stipend that includes a 2-bedroom apartment in a secure building where your brother can stay when he's released from the hospital. All medical expenses covered through my private insurance. All travel expenses covered. All professional development covered. That's insane, Maya whispered. Nobody pays that much for event coordination. I pay for loyalty, discretion, and excellence, Jehun said. You've demonstrated all three. You maintained perfect execution under extreme personal stress. You didn't gossip about my presence at the hotel. You handle crises without falling apart. Those qualities are worth far more than the financial investment. What's the catch? Maya asked. Because there's always a catch. The catch is you belong to me, Jehun said flatly. Not romantically or physically, but professionally and socially, you are mine. You attend the events I require. You maintain absolute confidentiality about my business affairs. You report only to me. You don't quit without 6 months' notice. And if you betray my trust in any way, all of this disappears and you're left exactly where you started. Maya felt like she couldn't breathe. This was too much. Too generous and too binding at the same time. Daniel leaned forward. Maya, I know this sounds overwhelming, but Jehun is serious about protecting people he believes deserve it. Your brother needs this treatment. You need stability. This provides both. And honestly, you'd be excellent at the job. Why? Maya asked Jehun. Why me? You could hire anyone. Because you returned that wallet, Jehun said. Maya blinked. What wallet? Jehun's expression remained controlled, but something shifted in his eyes. During the summit setup, one of my guests dropped an extremely expensive wallet in the ballroom. It contained $50,000 cash and credit cards that could have accessed significantly more. You found it. You didn't take a single dollar. You turned it in to hotel security with a note about which guest had been seated in that section. That man's name was on the summit registry. You could have kept the money. You were desperate then too. But you chose integrity. That's just basic honesty, Maya protested. No, Daniel said quietly. That's character under pressure. That's the quality Jehun needs. Someone who won't be corrupted by access to wealth and power. Someone who makes ethical choices even when it costs them. Maya looked down at the documents. $200,000. Her brother's life. Her own survival. Financial security. All of it real and legal and possible. She looked up at Jehun. What happens if I say no? Nothing, Jehun said. You walk away. I cannot help you further without your consent. But those men in the parking garage will find you again. Other predators will circle. Your brother's condition will deteriorate. And you'll face those problems alone. And if I say yes, Maya said slowly. If I accept this, what happens to my independence? My life. Your life becomes easier in most ways, Daniel said. More complicated in others. You'll have resources, but also obligations. Freedom, but also responsibilities. It's a trade. Only you can decide if it's worth it. Maya thought about Dante in his hospital bed, pale and sick and 17 years old with his whole life ahead of him if he just survived this. She thought about the loan sharks with their predatory smiles and their threats. She thought about drowning in bills while working herself into exhaustion for jobs that would never pay enough. She thought about integrity and survival, and which mattered more when your family was dying. I need him to live, Maya whispered. I need my brother to live. I know, Jehun said quietly. That's why I'm making this offer. Maya picked up the pen that lay beside the documents. Her hand was still shaking, but her voice was steady when she spoke. Where do I sign? The paperwork was handled within hours. Jehun made 3 phone calls, and by midnight, Seattle Children's Hospital confirmed receipt of $200,000 with instructions to begin Dante's aggressive treatment protocol immediately. Maya sat in the penthouse suite watching the city lights blur through tears she couldn't hold back anymore, and Daniel quietly handed her tissues while Jehun stood at the window, giving her space to process. When she could breathe again, Jehun turned and handed her a phone. Black, sleek, expensive. Already programmed with his private number, Daniel's number, the driver's number, and a direct line to the hospital. You call if you need anything, Jehun said. Day or night. No hesitation. Maya took the phone with shaking hands. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you. You already did, Daniel said gently. You signed the contract. That's all the thanks he needs. Over the next 6 weeks, Maya's life transformed in ways that felt surreal. The apartment Jehun provided was in a luxury building in Capitol Hill with security, underground parking, and floor-to-ceiling windows that let in actual sunlight. 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, furniture that didn't come from thrift stores. The first morning Maya woke up there, she stood in the living room and cried because it was the first time in 3 years she'd felt safe. Dante was transferred to a private wing at the hospital with oncologists whose expertise commanded international reputations. His treatment began immediately, and within 2 weeks, his white blood cell count stabilized. Within 4 weeks, he was strong enough to walk the halls. Within 6 weeks, he was smiling again, joking with nurses, talking about going back to school when he was cleared. Maya visited every day before and after work, and work itself had become something entirely different. She no longer coordinated events for the Bellevue Grand. She coordinated events for Park Jehun exclusively. High-level investor dinners in private restaurants where the menus weren't printed and the wine cost more per bottle than her old monthly salary. Corporate retreats at luxury resorts where she managed schedules for executives whose decisions moved billions. Charity galas where she orchestrated silent auctions that raised millions for causes Jehun supported quietly and without publicity. The work was intense and demanding, but it was also exactly what she'd dreamed of doing when she'd earned her hospitality degree. Strategic planning at the highest level. Complex logistics. Meaningful impact. And Jehun was exacting but never unfair. When she executed well, he acknowledged it with brief, precise praise. When she made mistakes, he corrected her with specific feedback that helped her improve. She was good at this. Better than good. She was excellent. And for the first time in years, she felt like she was using her skills for something beyond mere survival. But what surprised Maya most was how comfortable she felt around Jehun himself. She'd expected awkwardness or tension, this constant awareness of power imbalance and obligation. Instead, she found herself relaxing into easy professional rapport that gradually became something closer to friendship. It helped that Daniel was almost always present. Jehun's personal assistant seemed to manage everything from schedules to meals, and the dynamic between the 2 men remained as gently affectionate as it had been at the hotel. Daniel would bring Jehun coffee prepared exactly how he liked it, black with 1 sugar cube dissolved completely. Jehun would ask Daniel's opinion on major decisions and actually listen to the responses. They had their own shorthand, finishing each other's sentences, communicating with looks across rooms. Maya found it endearing, and it made her feel safe in a way she hadn't anticipated. Jehun might be intense and powerful and honestly intimidating when he focused that dark, penetrating attention on someone, but he clearly had capacity for tenderness. She saw it in how he interacted with Daniel. Patient, considerate, genuinely caring. That caring extended to Maya in unexpected ways. When she worked late coordinating an investor dinner that ran past midnight, Jehun's driver appeared to take her home rather than let her take public transit at 2 in the morning. When she mentioned missing her favorite Ethiopian restaurant from her old neighborhood because she no longer lived near it, Jehun arranged for them to cater an office lunch. When she was stressed about coordinating a retreat with 17 different international attendees and complex dietary restrictions, he sat with her for 3 hours helping her create spreadsheets and contingency plans, his precise mind cutting through logistics with remarkable efficiency. She started to understand that Jehun's protectiveness wasn't about control. It was about care. He noticed when she was tired, made sure she ate during long events, adjusted schedules when her brother needed her, respected her capabilities while providing support that let her excel. Maya found herself sharing things she normally kept private. Stories about Dante's childhood, her parents who died in a car accident when she was 20, her dreams of eventually opening her own boutique event planning firm specializing in multicultural celebrations. Jahun listened with that intense focus of his, asking questions that showed he was genuinely interested, offering business advice that revealed how deeply he understood both strategy and human nature. It felt like friendship, real friendship, uncomplicated by attraction or tension because she knew he was safely unavailable. Maya had never had a male friend quite like this. Someone powerful enough to protect her, but tender enough to care. Someone who saw her competence and respected it while still ensuring she was supported. 2 months into her new position, Jahun invited her to his primary residence for a working dinner. They needed to plan a major fundraising gala for a children's cancer research foundation, and the logistics were complex enough to require several hours of focused collaboration. Maya arrived at his Medina estate and tried not to let her jaw drop. The house was stunning. Modern architecture with traditional Korean elements, surrounded by carefully maintained gardens, views of Lake Washington that made her chest tight with their beauty. But what struck her most was how much it felt like a home rather than a showpiece. Books on shelves, art that seemed personally meaningful rather than merely expensive, spaces designed for living rather than impressing. Daniel greeted her at the door with his characteristic warm smile. "Welcome to the chaos," he said. "Jahun's been trying to cook." Maya followed him to the kitchen and stopped in the doorway. Park Jahun, Billionaire CEO, stood at a professional-grade stove wearing dark slacks and a thin cashmere sweater with his sleeves pushed up. Focused intently on a pan of vegetables, he was stir-frying with the same precision he applied to business negotiations. "You cook," Maya said, unable to hide her surprise. Jahun glanced up. "I find it meditative. Also, restaurant food becomes tiresome when it's every meal. Sit. This will be ready in 10 minutes." Maya sat at the kitchen island while Daniel poured wine and Jahun plated bulgogi with practiced ease, explaining the marinade technique his mother had taught him before she passed. The food was incredible. Tender meat, perfectly seasoned vegetables, rice with just the right texture. Maya ate with genuine enthusiasm and told him so. "My mother believed that feeding people was an act of care," Jahun said quietly. "She always said you can tell someone's heart by whether they ensure others are nourished." "She sounds like she was wonderful," Maya said. "She was," Daniel added. "From what Jahun's told me, she would have loved you. The way you care for your brother. Your work ethic. Your integrity." They ate and discussed the gala logistics, spreading documents across the dining table after dinner, debating venue options and donor cultivation strategies. Hours passed easily. Maya found herself laughing at one of Daniel's stories about a coordination disaster at a previous event, and Jahun's rare smile appeared, transforming his usually controlled features into something almost boyish. Around 11, Daniel excused himself for a phone call with his family in New York, and Maya found herself alone with Jahun in the comfortable silence of people who'd grown used to each other's presence. "Can I ask you something personal?" Maya said, emboldened by wine and warmth and the strange intimacy of the evening. Jahun looked up from the budget spreadsheet he was reviewing. "Yes. Why did you really help me? The wallet story, the integrity thing, I understand that. But this level of investment in a stranger, there has to be more to it." Jahun was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes distant. "I had a younger sister," he finally said. His voice was carefully controlled, but Maya heard the emotion underneath. She was 16 when a man twice her age pursued her, convinced her he loved her. "My parents disapproved, but I was building my company, too focused on expansion and profits to pay attention to what was happening. By the time I realized something was wrong, it was too late. He was abusive. She was terrified. And one night when she tried to leave him, he killed her rather than let her go." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "Jahun, I was 28 and wealthy and powerful, and I couldn't save my own sister because I was too busy proving myself to notice she was dying inside." Jahun's jaw was tight, his knuckles white where his hands gripped the table edge. "So now when I see someone drowning while the people around them stay oblivious, I intervene. I won't fail someone again the way I failed Minji." The raw pain in his voice made Maya's chest ache. She reached across the table without thinking and covered his hand with hers. "You didn't fail her. You were young, and you couldn't have known." "I should have known," Jahun said flatly. "That's what family does. They pay attention. They protect each other." "You're protecting me now," Maya said softly. "You saved my brother. That's not failure. That's you honoring her memory by ensuring other people's siblings survive. Jehun turned his hand over, his fingers curling around hers briefly before releasing. You remind me of her sometimes. The determination. The refusal to break even when everything is breaking around you. I look at you and I think this is who Minji could have become if she'd had more time. Strong. Capable. Alive. Maya felt the weight of that statement settle over her. She squeezed his hand once more before withdrawing. Thank you for telling me. And for the record, I think your sister would be proud of the man you became. Someone who uses his power to protect people instead of exploit them. Daniel returned then, breaking the moment, and the conversation shifted back to logistics and timelines. But something had changed. Maya understood now. Jehun wasn't just a generous employer. He was a man carrying grief and guilt, transforming his pain into protection for others. It made her respect him even more deeply. The gala happened 3 weeks later, and it was a triumph. Maya had coordinated every detail flawlessly, from the live orchestra to the silent auction items to the surprise video presentation from pediatric cancer survivors. The event raised $2.4 million, and Jehun stood on stage thanking the donors with genuine emotion that had several people visibly moved. Maya watched from the wings, feeling pride swell in her chest. She'd done this. Created something meaningful and beautiful that would fund research to save children like Dante. This was why she'd gone into event planning in the first place. To create moments that mattered. After the event, while guests mingled during the reception, one of the major donors approached Maya. He was in his 50s, expensive suit, too much cologne, and he stood slightly too close while complimenting her work. You're very talented, he said, and very beautiful. Perhaps we could discuss future collaboration over dinner. Maya maintained her professional smile. I appreciate the compliment, but I coordinate exclusively for Park Industries. If you're interested in event planning services, I can connect you with several excellent firms. The man's hand landed on her lower back, fingers pressing with presumptuous familiarity. I'm sure we could work something out privately. Maya stepped away smoothly, putting physical distance between them. I'm not available for private consultations. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to coordinate the dessert service. She turned to leave, but the man grabbed her wrist. His grip was tight enough to hurt. Don't be difficult, he said quietly. I donated $500,000 tonight. Least you can do is have dinner with me. Maya's heart raced, but she kept her voice level. Release my wrist, or I'll make a scene that ensures everyone here knows exactly what kind of man you are. The man's eyes narrowed. You think anyone would believe you over me? I would, a cold voice said. Jehun appeared beside them with the kind of quiet intensity that made the donor immediately release Maya's wrist. Park Jehun stood with perfect posture, his dark eyes locked on the donor with an expression that Maya had never seen before. Dangerous. Absolutely controlled, but utterly lethal underneath. Mr. Chun, Jehun said quietly. You just grabbed my employee without consent and implied you expected sexual favors in exchange for your donation. Is that accurate? The donor, Chun, paled. That's not what I meant. Then clarify your meaning, Jehun suggested. His voice was soft, deadly soft, because from where I stood, it appeared you were assaulting Miss Thompson. It was a misunderstanding, Chun backpedaled. I apologize. No harm intended. Harm was absolutely intended, Jehun said. Miss Thompson said no. You grabbed her anyway. That demonstrates either profound entitlement or dangerous disregard for consent. Neither is acceptable. Chun glanced around nervously. Several other guests were watching now. Look, I'll just go. Yes, Jehun agreed. You will leave. Your donation will be returned in full tomorrow morning with a letter explaining that Park Industries cannot accept funds from individuals who assault our staff. And I'll ensure every major organization in Seattle knows why your donation was refused. Good evening, Mr. Chun. The man fled. Actually fled, walking quickly toward the exit while other guests whispered. Maya stood frozen, adrenaline making her hands shake. You just refused $500,000 and destroyed his reputation. He touched you without permission after you said no, Jehun said, turning his full attention to her. Are you hurt? My wrist is fine. It's just red. Jehun's jaw tightened. Show me. Maya held out her wrist. The skin was red where Chun had grabbed her, already beginning to show the shadow of bruising. Jehun's fingers were gentle as he examined the injury, his touch careful and clinical, but his eyes were still that cold, dark fury. I should have been watching more closely, he said quietly. You can't monitor every interaction at an event with 200 guests, Maya protested. When it comes to your safety, I absolutely can and should. Jahun pulled out his phone and texted rapidly. Security will be tighter at future events. No donor gets close to you without staff present. This doesn't happen again. Maya felt something warm and complicated unfold in her chest. He was furious on her behalf, protective in a way that felt fierce and genuine. She'd had boyfriends who'd cared less when she was actually hurt. Thank you, she said softly, for believing me, for defending me. Not everyone would have. Anyone who wouldn't defend you in that situation is not worth your time, Jahun said firmly. You are under my protection, Maya. That means something. That means no one touches you without consequences. The intensity in his voice made Maya's breath catch. She found herself staring at him, really seeing him for the first time without the comfortable buffer of assuming he was unavailable. Seeing the sharp lines of his face, the controlled power in his posture, the absolute focus of his attention when he looked at her. Something shifted. Some awareness she'd been suppressing behind the safety of misunderstanding. Daniel appeared then with ice wrapped in cloth for her wrist, and the moment broke. Maya accepted the ice gratefully and let Daniel guide her to a quiet corner to sit down. Jahun returned to managing the event with his usual efficiency, but Maya noticed he kept glancing toward her, checking she was all right, his protective vigilance palpable even across the crowded room. Later, after the gala ended and Maya was helping supervise cleanup, she overheard two staff members talking. Did you see Mr. Park defend that coordinator? One whispered. So protective, almost possessive. While they've been practically living together coordinating events, the other responded. And did you notice Daniel wasn't territorial at all? Maybe they have an open thing. Maya froze. Daniel. She'd been so focused on Jahun's protectiveness, she'd forgotten about Daniel. About the relationship she'd assumed existed. About why she'd felt so safe. She looked across the ballroom to where Jahun and Daniel stood reviewing final numbers. They were close together, as always, Daniel's hand on Jahun's shoulder as he pointed to something on the tablet. Comfortable. Intimate. Maya felt confused and slightly guilty. She'd been developing feelings that were inappropriate. Jahun was in a relationship. His protectiveness was exactly what she'd originally thought, the care of someone who was safe because he was unavailable. She needed to remember that. Needed to maintain boundaries, needed to appreciate what she had, a mentor and friend and protector, without wanting anything more. But as she watched Jahun across the room, his dark eyes finding hers and holding her gaze with that intense focus that made her feel like she was the only person in his world, Maya felt her heart beat faster despite her best intentions to keep it calm. The weeks following the gala settled into a comfortable rhythm. Maya coordinated 3 more major events, each one more successful than the last. Dante continued to improve, his doctors cautiously optimistic about his prognosis. And Maya found herself spending more time with Jahun, their professional relationship deepening into something that felt increasingly like genuine friendship. She told herself that's all it was. All it could be. She ignored the way her pulse quickened when he smiled at her rare moments of humor. Ignored the warmth that spread through her chest when he remembered small details about her preferences. Ignored the dreams that were becoming increasingly inappropriate about a man who was unavailable. The revelation happened on a Wednesday afternoon in Jahun's office at Park Industries headquarters. Maya was reviewing vendor contracts for an upcoming corporate retreat when Daniel burst through the door with uncharacteristic excitement. His normally composed professional demeanor had cracked into pure joy. She said yes, Daniel announced, holding up his left hand to show a simple gold band on his ring finger. Maya looked up from her paperwork, confused. Who said yes to what? My girlfriend, Daniel said, grinning. Well, fiancé now. I proposed last night, and she said yes. We're getting married. The words didn't make sense. Maya's brain tried to process the information and failed. Your girlfriend? She repeated slowly. Jahun looked up from his computer with a genuine smile, the kind that transformed his usually controlled features into something warm and almost boyish. Congratulations, Daniel. I'm very happy for you both. Daniel moved to Jahun's desk, and they embraced briefly, the easy affection of close friends. Thank you. I know it's fast. We've only been dating 8 months, But when you know, right? Absolutely, Jehun agreed. Sarah is an excellent match for you. Maya felt like the floor had tilted. Sarah. Daniel had a girlfriend named Sarah, which meant Daniel wasn't with Jehun, which meant the entire foundation of Maya's understanding for the past 4 months had been completely wrong. Her confusion must have shown on her face because Daniel turned to her with a slight frown. Maya, are you all right? You look shocked. Maya stammered. I thought. She looked between Daniel and Jehun, heat flooding her face. I'm sorry, this is embarrassing, but I thought you two were together. The silence that followed was profound. Daniel blinked. Together. As in romantically. Maya nodded miserably. The way you are with each other. The closeness. The intimacy. I just assumed. Daniel started laughing. Full, genuine laughter that made him clutch his stomach. Oh my God. Maya. Jehun is like my brother. We've known each other since college. He's my best friend. But romantically? No, absolutely not. Maya felt her mortification deepen as Jehun's expression shifted from confusion to something else. Understanding. And beneath that, something that looked almost like calculation. You thought I was in a relationship with Daniel, Jehun said quietly. His dark eyes were locked on Maya's face with that penetrating focus she'd come to recognize. For how long? Since the hotel, Maya whispered. Since the first day. You were so close and comfortable, and I just thought. And that's why you've been so relaxed around me, Jehun continued, his voice still that controlled quiet. Because you believed I was safely unavailable. Maya wanted to disappear. Yes. Daniel's laughter had faded into awkward awareness of the tension filling the room. I should go, he said carefully. Let you two talk. He left quickly, closing the door behind him with a soft click that sounded impossibly loud in the silence. Jehun stood from his desk and moved to the sitting area where Maya had frozen in her chair. He sat across from her, close enough that she could see the precise way his dark suit jacket draped over his shoulders, smell the subtle expensive cologne he always wore, something woody and clean that she'd come to associate with safety. Except she wasn't safe anymore. Not with the way he was looking at her. Maya, Jehun said carefully, I need you to understand something. I am not in a romantic relationship with Daniel or anyone else. I have not been in a relationship for 3 years, not since my sister died. I am very much heterosexual and very much attracted to women. Maya's mouth went dry. Okay. I am also, Jehun continued with the same deliberate precision he used for business negotiations, very much attracted to you specifically. The words hung between them. Maya felt her heart hammering against her ribs. You can't be. Why not? Because you never said anything. Never acted like. She gestured helplessly. You've been nothing but professional and kind and safe, Jehun finished. I've been safe because you needed me to be. You came to me traumatized and desperate and drowning. You needed protection and stability, not another man making demands on you. So I gave you time, space, friendship, the opportunity to heal and thrive without pressure. Maya stared at him. You've been waiting. I've been ensuring you had the freedom to choose without obligation coloring that choice. Jehun leaned forward slightly, his intensity focused entirely on her. Maya, when you signed that contract, you were terrified and cornered. If I'd pursued you romantically then, you would have felt obligated to reciprocate whether you wanted to or not. That's not a relationship. That's coercion. So Maya's voice cracked. You just protected me and mentored me and became my friend. I became what you needed me to be, Jehun said quietly. And what you needed was someone who saw your worth without demanding anything in return. But that doesn't mean I haven't wanted more. It means I've cared enough to wait until you were strong enough to choose freely. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She'd spent 4 months feeling safe and valued and seen, never realizing that the man providing all of that had been carefully controlling his own desires to ensure her well-being. I've been so stupid, she whispered. You've been healing, Jehun corrected gently. There's nothing stupid about needing time to recover from trauma and fear. But now you know the truth. I am not unavailable. I am very available. The question is whether that changes anything for you. Maya looked at him truly for the first time without the comfortable filter of assumed safety. Saw the way his dark eyes tracked her face with barely controlled hunger. The tension in his shoulders like he was holding himself back through sheer force of will. The careful distance he maintained between them despite clearly wanting to be closer. She thought about the past 4 months. his protectiveness, his generosity, his genuine care for her well-being and her dreams. The way he defended her against donors and loan sharks alike. The way he'd saved her brother's life without hesitation. The way he looked at her sometimes when he thought she wasn't watching, with an intensity that she'd attributed to concern but now recognized as desire. I don't know what to say, Maya admitted. You don't have to say anything right now, Jehun said. He stood, putting physical distance between them, giving her breathing room. Nothing about your position changes regardless of your answer. You're still my event coordinator. Still protected. Still valued. This revelation doesn't come with obligations or pressure. I just need you to know the truth so you can make informed decisions about what you want. And what do you want? Maya asked. Jehun turned to look at her, and the controlled mask slipped just enough for her to see the raw emotion underneath. I want you, Maya. Not as an employee. Not as a charity case. As mine. I have from the moment you handled that flower crisis at the hotel with grace under impossible pressure. Your assumption about Daniel gave me time to prove myself as more than just a powerful man who could solve your problems. Time to show you I could be trusted. But now you know. And now you get to decide what happens next. Before Maya could respond, his phone buzzed urgently. Jehun glanced at it, and his expression went cold and hard. We'll continue this conversation later. Right now you need to go home. My driver will take you. What's wrong? Maya asked, standing. Security alert at your apartment building, Jehun said curtly, already moving toward his desk and pulling up security camera feeds on his computer. Someone's been watching your unit. The loan sharks, Maya breathed. Possibly. Jehun made 3 rapid phone calls, his voice clipped and commanding. I'm sending a security team to your apartment now. You're staying at a hotel tonight until I can ensure your building is secure. I can't just hide in a hotel, Maya protested. You can and you will, Jehun said flatly. The protection I provide isn't optional, Maya. It's absolute. You don't take unnecessary risks with your safety. Maya wanted to argue, but the cold fury in his expression stopped her. This was the other side of Park Jehun. Not the gentle friend or patient mentor. This was the man who destroyed a donor's reputation without hesitation. The man who had enough power and resources to have people followed and threats eliminated. The man who was dangerous when protecting what he considered his. The drive to her apartment to collect overnight belongings was tense. Jehun's driver, Marcus, kept checking the mirrors with professional vigilance. Maya sat in the back seat trying to process everything that had happened in the last hour. The revelation about Jehun's sexuality. His admission of wanting her. The security threat. Her emotions were a tangled mess of fear and confusion and something that felt uncomfortably like hope. They pulled into her building's garage and Marcus did a full sweep before allowing Maya to exit the vehicle. He accompanied her to her apartment, hand near his concealed weapon, while Maya unlocked her door with trembling fingers. The apartment looked undisturbed. Maya moved quickly to pack a bag with clothes and toiletries, her mind spinning. She needed to think. Needed to process what Jehun had told her without the immediate threat of danger forcing rapid decisions. She was zipping her overnight bag when she heard it. The sound of the front door opening. But she'd locked it. She knew she'd locked it. Marcus was in the living room instantly, weapon drawn. Maya, get behind me. 3 men entered. Not loan sharks this time. Worse. Professional. Armed. Moving with military precision. The center one smiled at Maya. Ms. Thompson, our employer would like to have a conversation with you about your new benefactor. Come quietly, and no one gets hurt. Marcus fired a warning shot into the ceiling. She's not going anywhere. Leave now or this escalates. The man's side like Marcus was being unreasonable. We were hoping to avoid unpleasantness. He gestured and his associates moved to flank Marcus. What happened next was fast and brutal. Marcus was well trained but outnumbered. He took down one attacker, but the other got behind him, striking hard enough to drop him. Maya screamed and ran for the bedroom, slamming the door and locking it, fumbling for her phone. She dialed Jehun's number with shaking hands. He answered on the first ring. Maya. They're here, Maya gasped. In my apartment. They hurt Marcus. They want me. Lock yourself in the bathroom. Jehun's voice was absolutely calm and utterly lethal. I'm coming. 10 minutes. Do not open the door for anyone except me. Maya ran to the bathroom and locked the door just as the bedroom door crashed open. She heard footsteps. Someone tried the bathroom handle. Miss Thompson, the voice called. This can be easy or difficult. Your choice. Maya pressed herself against the far wall, phone clutched to her chest. She could hear Jehun on the line, still connected, his voice low and rapid as he gave orders to someone else. 8 minutes, he said to Maya. 8 minutes, and I'm there. Stay quiet. Stay hidden. The bathroom door shuddered as someone kicked it. The lock held, but barely. Another kick and would splintered. Maya closed her eyes and tried to breathe through the terror. This was real. These men were going to take her, hurt her, use her as leverage against Jehun, or sell her to whoever paid the most. The loan sharks had sent professionals this time, people who knew what they were doing. The door burst open and rough hands grabbed her. Maya fought, kicking and screaming, but the man was twice her size and trained. He hauled her out of the bathroom while she struggled. Then gunfire erupted in the living room. Real gunfire, multiple weapons, shouting. The man holding Maya cursed and dragged her toward the front door, but another figure blocked the exit. Jehun stood in the doorway of her apartment with 3 armed security personnel behind him. His expression was colder than Maya had ever seen. Arctic, absolutely devoid of mercy. Release her, Jehun said quietly. The man holding Maya pulled a knife and pressed it to her throat. Not a chance. We walk out of here with her, or she dies. Jehun's dark eyes met Maya's. His expression didn't change, but she saw something flash across his face. Fear. Real fear. For her. You have 5 seconds to release her before I ensure you don't leave this building alive, Jehun said. His voice was soft. Deadly. 5, 4, 3. The knife pressed harder. Maya felt the blade's edge against her skin. 2. Jehun continued. One of Jehun's security team moved with impossible speed, firing a shot that hit the man's hand holding the knife. He screamed and released Maya. She stumbled forward and Jehun caught her, pulling her behind him with one arm while his other hand held a weapon she hadn't realized he was carrying. The fight was over in seconds. Jehun's team was professional and efficient. The attackers were disarmed and restrained with brutal effectiveness. Jehun didn't watch. His full attention was on Maya, his hands running over her face and neck checking for injuries. His dark eyes wild with an emotion she'd never seen from him before. Did he cut you? Jehun demanded. Maya, did the blade break skin? No, Maya whispered. I'm okay. I'm okay. Jehun pulled her into his arms, crushing her against his chest with a force that should have hurt, but instead felt like safety incarnate. His heart was pounding. She could feel it against her cheek, his breathing uneven despite his controlled exterior. I should have moved you immediately, he said against her hair. Should have anticipated they'd escalate. This is my fault. You saved me, Maya said, her voice muffled against his chest. You came. You saved me. Always, Jehun said fiercely. I will always come for you. Maya pulled back enough to see his face. The controlled mask had shattered completely. This was Jehun raw and terrified and furious and utterly devoted. This was the truth underneath all the careful patience. This was a man who would burn the world to keep her safe. I was so scared, Maya whispered. I know, Jehun said. His hand cupped her face with devastating gentleness. I know and I'm sorry. This doesn't happen again. Ever. One of his security team approached carefully. Sir, we need to move Ms. Thompson to a secure location. And these men need to be questioned. Take them to the secondary facility, Jehun ordered without looking away from Maya. Find out who sent them and eliminate the entire operation. I want names, locations, and complete dismantlement within 48 hours. The security team moved immediately to comply. Marcus was being tended to by a medic, conscious but groggy. The attackers were hauled away still handcuffed. Jehun guided Maya out of the apartment and into the waiting SUV, keeping her tucked against his side like he couldn't bear to have any distance between them. They drove in silence while Maya trembled with adrenaline crash and Jehun held her with fierce protectiveness. Finally, Maya spoke. You have a secondary facility. For questioning people. Jehun's jaw tightened. Yes. You're not just a CEO, Maya said slowly. Understanding crystallizing. You're something else too. I'm someone who protects what's mine, Jehun said carefully. Sometimes that requires resources and methods that aren't entirely legal. My family has connections. Power. Influence in places that don't appear on corporate organization charts. I've used those resources to build my business empire and to ensure threats are eliminated permanently. You're connected to organized crime, Maya whispered. I'm connected to power structures that exist in the spaces between legal and illegal, Jehun corrected. I don't traffic drugs or people. I don't extort or exploit. But I do ensure that anyone who threatens what I care about faces consequences that prevent future threats. Maya should have been terrified, should have pulled away. Instead, she pressed closer. You could have told me. I could have, Jehun agreed. But you were already scared and vulnerable. Adding the truth about my connections would have made you feel even more trapped. I wanted you to trust me as a man, not fear me as a criminal. I don't fear you, Maya said. She looked up at his face, at the controlled intensity and barely leashed fury. I should, probably. But I don't. You've only ever used your power to protect me. Because you're mine, Jehun said. His voice dropped to that quiet, lethal softness. You've been mine since you signed that contract. Mine to protect. Mine to provide for. And now that you know the truth about everything, mine to claim if you'll have me. Maya's breath caught. This was the moment. The choice he'd said she had. Knowing everything now. His desire for her. His criminal connections. His absolute devotion and dangerous methods. She could walk away. Return to her old life. He'd promised her position wouldn't change regardless of her answer. Or she could step forward into the unknown with a man who was powerful and dangerous and absolutely devoted to keeping her safe. Maya reached up and touched his face, her fingers tracing the sharp line of his jaw. I choose you, she whispered. All of you. The protection and the danger and everything in between. Jehun's control finally shattered. He kissed her with months of restrained desire unleashed, claiming her mouth with devastating intensity. Maya kissed him back just as fiercely, all the suppressed attraction flooding through her in a wave that left her breathless. You're mine, Jehun breathed against her lips. Say it. I'm yours, Maya agreed. And you're mine. Forever, Jehun promised. His dark eyes held hers with absolute certainty. I don't share and I don't let go. Jehun took Maya to a penthouse suite in a building she'd never heard of, located in downtown Seattle with security that looked military-grade. The lobby had armed guards who nodded to Jehun with obvious respect. The elevator required both a key card and fingerprint scan. The suite itself was beautiful but impersonal, clearly designed as a safe house rather than a home. You'll stay here until the threat is eliminated, Jehun told her as they entered. His hand remained on her lower back. That possessive touch she now understood had always been about barely restrained desire rather than casual care. The building has 24-hour security, reinforced walls, and surveillance on every floor. No one gets in without my authorization. How long will that take? Maya asked. Eliminating the threat. Jehun's expression went cold. 48 hours. Maybe less. He made several phone calls in rapid Korean, his voice clipped and commanding, while Maya stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. She heard him give orders that sounded harsh and final even without understanding the language. When he finished, he turned to find her watching him. I need to handle this personally, Jehun said. I'll have security posted outside your door, and Daniel will check on you every few hours. You don't leave this suite for any reason. You're going after them, Maya said. Not a question. Yes, you're going to hurt people. Jehun moved closer, his dark eyes holding hers with absolute honesty. I'm going to eliminate everyone involved in tonight's attack and dismantle the entire organization that sent them. That will involve violence. It will be brutal and efficient and permanent. Does that frighten you? Maya thought about the knife at her throat. The terror of being dragged toward an unknown fate. The certainty that without Jehun's intervention, she would have disappeared into a nightmare she might never escape. No, she said quietly. It doesn't frighten me. It makes me feel safe. Jehun's expression shifted, something fierce and possessive flashing across his features. You understand what I'm saying, Maya. I'm not calling the police. I'm not pursuing legal justice. I'm going to use my connections to find these people and ensure they never threaten anyone again. That makes me a criminal. That makes you mine, Maya said. She stepped closer to him, closing the distance he'd maintained so carefully for months. You saved my life tonight. You've saved me over and over. I don't care what methods you use as long as you come back to me safely. Jehun pulled her into his arms, kissing her with desperate intensity. The controlled patience was gone completely now, replaced by raw need and fierce claiming. Maya responded just as fiercely, months of suppressed attraction pouring out in the way she kissed him back, her hands fisting in his expensive shirt, not caring if she wrinkled the fabric. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jehun rested his forehead against hers. I need to go, but I'll be back as soon as this is handled. Promise me you'll stay here. Promise me you won't take risks. I promise, Maya whispered. Be careful. Always, Jehun said. He kissed her once more, soft and lingering, then forced himself to pull away. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone except Daniel or me. Then he was gone and Maya was alone in the silent luxury suite with her racing heart and the taste of him still on her lips. The next 48 hours were the longest of Maya's life. Daniel visited every 6 hours like clockwork, bringing food and updates that were carefully vague. Mr. Park is handling the situation. Everything is progressing as planned. He'll be back soon. Maya tried to work, reviewing files for upcoming events on her laptop, but her concentration was shattered. She kept thinking about Jehun out there somewhere, using violence to protect her. She should be horrified, should be questioning her choices. Instead, she felt oddly calm, certain, like she'd finally stopped pretending she wanted a safe, predictable life and accepted the truth. She wanted him, all of him, the controlled CEO and the dangerous protector, the gentle friend and the ruthless enforcer, the man who cooked her dinner and the man who eliminated threats without hesitation. Dante called on the second day, his voice bright with excitement about being cleared to start outpatient treatment. Maya talked to him for an hour, listening to his plans for finishing high school and applying to colleges, feeling profound gratitude that her brother had a future because Jehun had made it possible. When she hung up, she found herself crying. Relief and fear and overwhelming emotion she couldn't name. Daniel found her like that during his afternoon check-in and sat with her quietly until she could breathe normally again. You love him, Daniel said. It wasn't a question. Yes, Maya admitted. Is that crazy? I've known him 4 months. I've known Jehun for 15 years, Daniel said gently. I've never seen him like this with anyone. The way he looks at you, Maya, like you're the only thing in his world that matters. That's not something you walk away from just because the timeline seems fast. He's out there killing people for me, Maya whispered. He's out there ensuring you never have to be afraid again, Daniel corrected. There's a difference. Jehun doesn't kill for pleasure or profit. He eliminates threats to protect what he loves. And he loves you. He hasn't said it yet, but I know him well enough to recognize it. How can you be so calm about this, Maya asked. About what he does. Because I know who he is underneath the necessary darkness, Daniel said. I've seen him build hospitals in Korea that provide free cancer treatment to children. I've watched him quietly fund scholarships for students who can't afford college. I've seen him protect people who had no one else to protect them. Yes, he uses violence when necessary, but he uses his power to do more good than harm. That's rare in someone with his resources. Maya nodded slowly. She understood. She'd seen that same dichotomy. The fierce protector who was also genuinely kind. The dangerous man who was also deeply caring. On the morning of the third day, Jehun returned. Maya heard his voice in the hallway speaking to security, then his key in the lock. She stood from the sofa where she'd been pretending to read and watched the door open. He looked different, still impeccably dressed in dark suit and crisp shirt, but there was something harder in his expression, a weariness that went bone deep. And when he met her eyes, she saw the shadow of what he'd done in the past 48 hours. Is it finished? Maya asked quietly. Yes, Jehun said. He moved into the suite and locked the door behind him. The organization that sent those men no longer exists. The loan sharks who originally threatened you have been permanently disbanded. Every person involved in targeting you has been dealt with. You're safe now. Completely safe. Maya crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him. He stood rigid for a moment, like he was afraid to touch her with hands that had recently done violence. Then he broke, pulling her tight against him, his face buried in her hair, his breathing uneven. I'm sorry you had to wait, he murmured. I'm sorry I put you through that fear. You came back, Maya said. That's all that matters. They stood like that for long minutes, just holding each other, until Jehun's breathing steadied and some of the tension left his shoulders. Finally, he pulled back enough to look at her face. I need you to understand what I did, he said quietly. What I'm capable of. I won't lie to you or hide the darkness. If we do this, if we're together, you need to know who I really am. Tell me, Maya said. So he did. He told her about the secondary facility where they'd questioned the attackers, about the information extracted regarding who had hired them and why. about the systematic dismantling of a human trafficking network that had been using the Loan Shark operation as a recruitment front, about the violence required to ensure every person involved was either in custody or eliminated. He told her everything in his low, controlled voice, his dark eyes never leaving hers, giving her the truth without flinching or softening it. When he finished, Maya took his face in her hands. "You saved me," she said firmly. "You saved countless other women who would have been targeted by that network. You did what the police couldn't or wouldn't do." "I'm not horrified, Jehun. I'm grateful." "You should be afraid of me," Jehun said. His voice was rough. "Of what I'm capable of." "I'm not," Maya said. She kissed him softly. "I choose this. I choose you. All the broken pieces and necessary darkness. I choose you because you use your power to protect instead of exploit. Because you could have used my desperation to take advantage, but instead you gave me time to heal. Because everything you do, even the violence, comes from a place of caring too much rather than caring too little." Jehun kissed her with fierce possession, all the restraint he'd maintained dissolving completely. Maya responded with equal intensity, pulling him closer, showing him through touch that she meant every word. They made it to the bedroom in a tangle of desperate kisses and whispered promises. Jehun was careful with her despite the obvious hunger, his hands gentle even as his eyes blazed with desire. He paused before going further, his control reasserting itself. "Are you certain?" he asked. "Once this happens, Maya, you're mine. Completely mine. I don't know how to do this casually. I don't know how to hold back or share or pretend I don't want to claim every part of you." "Good," Maya breathed. "Because I don't want casual. I don't want held back. I want you exactly as you are." "Forever," Jehun demanded. "Forever," Maya promised. They came together with months of suppressed desire unleashed, claiming each other with fierce certainty. Jehun made love to her like she was precious and necessary, his control fracturing into raw emotion, whispering possessive promises against her skin in Korean and English. Maya matched his intensity, showing him through touch and breathless declarations that she was choosing this freely and completely. Afterwards, they lay tangled together in the dim bedroom, Maya's head on Jehun's chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. The late afternoon sun filtered through the curtains, turning everything golden and warm. "I love you," Jehun said quietly. "I've loved you since you coordinated that gala with such fierce competence while your brother was dying. Loved the way you handled harassment with dignity. Loved your integrity and strength and refusal to break. I should have told you sooner, but I was afraid of pushing you before you were ready." "I love you too," Maya whispered. She lifted her head to look at him. "I think I have for a while, but I kept telling myself it was gratitude or friendship. But it's always been more than that. You see me, Jehun. Really see me. Not just what I can do for you, but who I am underneath." "That's rare." "You're rare," Jehun corrected. He kissed her forehead tenderly. "And you're mine now. That means something. That means I provide for you, protect you, ensure you have everything you need to thrive." "I don't want to be kept," Maya said carefully. "I don't want to be dependent." "I know," Jehun said. He reached to the nightstand and withdrew an envelope she hadn't noticed before. "Which is why I had my lawyers prepare these." Maya sat up, pulling the sheet around herself, and opened the envelope. Inside were legal documents. She read through them with growing shock. A trust fund in her name worth $2 million that she could access regardless of their relationship status. Legal ownership of the apartment she'd been living in. And perhaps most shocking, initial capital funding of $500,000 for a business venture of her choosing, with her named as sole owner. "What is this?" Maya breathed. "Your independence," Jehun said. He sat up beside her, his expression serious. "I want you with me, Maya, but I need you to know you're choosing it freely. These documents ensure you never have to stay because of financial necessity. You can walk away at any time with the resources to build whatever life you want." Maya felt tears spill over. "This is insane. This is too much. This is ensuring the woman I love isn't trapped by the very circumstances I used to save her," Jehun said firmly. "I will not become another cage, Maya. I will not have you staying with me out of obligation or lack of options. If you're mine, I want it to be because you genuinely want to be, not because you have no choice." Maya set the documents aside and kissed him with everything she felt. When she pulled back, her eyes were still wet, but she was smiling. "You're the most terrifying and wonderful man I've ever met." You know that. I'm your terrifying and wonderful man, Jehun corrected. He pulled her back down into his arms. And you're my brave, brilliant, infuriating woman who makes me want to be better than the darkness that built me. They lay together in comfortable silence until Maya spoke again. So what happens now? Now, Jehun said, his voice taking on that controlled planning tone she recognized. We finished securing your safety. I'm moving you to my primary residence where security is tighter. Your brother will join us when he's released from the hospital. We continue your work coordinating events, but we also start planning your own company launch. And we build a life together. Just like that, Maya said. You have it all planned. I've been planning this for months, Jehun admitted. Since the night you signed the contract and I realized I wanted forever with you. I just had to wait for you to be ready to choose it. I'm ready, Maya said. She traced the line of his jaw with gentle fingers. I'm scared and overwhelmed and still processing everything. But I'm ready. I choose you, Jehun. I choose us. Jehun kissed her again, slow and deep and full of promise. Then we build something extraordinary together, he murmured against her lips. Something worth all the darkness it took to find each other. And they did. 3 weeks later, Maya stood in Jehun's Medina estate watching cherry blossoms drift past the windows and thought about how completely her life had transformed. The terror of loan sharks and kidnapping attempts felt like it belonged to another lifetime. Another version of herself who'd been drowning in debt and fear and exhaustion. This Maya lived in a home that felt like a sanctuary. This Maya woke up next to a man who looked at her like she was his entire world. This Maya was planning her own business launch while coordinating events that challenged and excited her. This Maya had a brother who was healthy and laughing again. She'd walked through fire and come out the other side holding the hand of a dangerous man who'd proven himself safe in all the ways that mattered. Jehun found her in the library where she'd been reviewing business plans for her event company. He moved behind her chair and placed a small velvet box on the desk in front of her with careful precision. Maya's breath caught. She looked up at him, her heart suddenly racing. Open it, Jehun said quietly. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked up the box and opened it. Inside was a ring that took her breath away. Not ostentatious or massive, but exquisite. A deep blue sapphire surrounded by small diamonds, set in platinum, elegant and distinctive. The kind of ring that was chosen specifically for her rather than selected to impress others. It's beautiful, Maya whispered. The sapphire reminded me of you, Jehun said. He moved around the chair to kneel in front of her, taking the box from her hands and removing the ring. Strong and rare and absolutely brilliant under pressure. I had it custom designed 3 weeks ago, the day after you chose me despite knowing exactly who I am. Jehun, Maya breathed. Marry me, he said. Not because you owe me or need me for financial security. Not because I saved you or protect you. Marry me because you want to build a life with me. Because you love me as much as I love you. Because you choose this partnership freely and completely. Tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. Yes, she said. Yes, of course yes. Jehun slipped the ring onto her finger with steady hands, though his eyes were bright with emotion. Then he stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her with fierce tenderness. Mine, he murmured against her lips. My future wife. My partner. My everything. Yours, Maya agreed. Forever yours. They held each other in the quiet library while afternoon sun painted everything gold, and Maya felt a peace so profound it made her chest ache. This was what she'd been surviving for. Not just to escape danger, but to find this. To find him. To find herself strong enough to accept extraordinary love. That evening, they drove to Seattle Children's Hospital to share the news with Dante. Her brother had been discharged to outpatient care 2 days earlier and was staying in the second bedroom of Jehun's estate, but he'd returned for a follow-up appointment with his oncology team. Maya found him in the teen lounge looking healthier than he'd been in a year. His color was good, his eyes bright, and when he saw her he grinned with the kind of energy she'd thought they'd lost forever. Maya, he called. They said I can start school next month. Actual school, not hospital tutors. Maya hugged him tight, blinking back tears. That's incredible, Dante. Jehun entered behind her, carrying the bag of books Dante had requested. He set them on the table with characteristic precision, then stepped back to give the siblings space. Dante looked between them, his sharp 17-year-old perception catching something. What's going on? You both look weird. Maya held up her left hand, letting the sapphire catch the light. Dante's eyes widened. You're getting married. To him. Yes, Maya said carefully. If you're okay with that. Dante looked at Jehun for a long moment. Maya couldn't read her brother's expression and felt anxiety twist in her stomach. Dante's opinion mattered. His comfort mattered. If he wasn't okay with this, she'd have to figure out how to navigate it. Finally, Dante spoke. You saved my life. You saved my sister. You gave us a home and security and a future we wouldn't have had otherwise. And the way you look at Maya, like she's the most important person in the world. Yeah, I'm okay with it. More than okay. Jehun moved closer and extended his hand. I know I can never replace your parents, Dante, but I promise I will protect your sister with everything I have. And I will ensure you have every opportunity to build whatever future you want. You have my word. Dante shook his hand firmly. Just don't hurt her. Because if you do, I don't care how powerful you are. I'll find a way to make you regret it. Jehun's mouth curved in what might have been respect. I would expect nothing less from Maya's brother. Your loyalty to her speaks well of your character. They talked for another hour, Dante peppering Jehun with questions about college funding and whether he could get a part-time job and if Jehun really owned the building where they lived. Jehun answered everything with patient honesty, including carefully sanitized explanations of his business that gave Dante enough truth without burdening him with dangerous details. When they left the hospital, Maya felt lighter. Her two most important people had accepted each other. Her family, small as it was, would remain intact even as it expanded. Over the next month, Jehun proved true to every promise. He secured the commercial space for Maya's event planning company in Capitol Hill, a beautiful renovated building with office space, a showroom for vendor meetings, and a small event venue for intimate gatherings. The company was registered entirely in her name with her as sole owner and operator. Thompson Event Design launched with a client list that included several of Jehun's business associates who genuinely needed event coordination, contracts that paid well, and provided excellent portfolio pieces. But Jehun made clear that any success beyond initial introductions was Maya's alone. He wouldn't pressure his contacts to continue working with her if her work didn't merit it. It did merit it. Maya threw herself into building her company with the same fierce competence she'd always had, now freed from the weight of financial terror. She hired 2 assistants, both talented women who'd been working lower-level positions at hotels and deserved better opportunities. She coordinated a corporate retreat that earned rave reviews. She planned a multicultural wedding that resulted in 3 more bookings from attendees. She was thriving, building something that was hers. And Jehun supported without smothering, celebrated her successes without claiming credit, provided advice when asked but trusted her expertise. 2 months after the proposal, Jehun hosted a formal dinner at his estate to introduce Maya to his business circle and the Seattle Korean community leaders. Maya dressed carefully in a deep emerald dress that Jehun had commissioned for her, elegant but professional, and tried to calm her nerves. These people mattered to Jehun's business and reputation. Their acceptance or rejection would impact his standing. The pressure felt enormous. Daniel found her in the bedroom before the guests arrived. You look terrified, he said gently. What if they hate me? Maya admitted. What if they think I'm not good enough for him, or that I'm using him, or that this is inappropriate? Some of them will think exactly that, Daniel said honestly. Some will disapprove of the interracial relationship. Some will question your background and motives. But Jehun doesn't care about their approval. He cares about you. And anyone who matters will see what I see. That you make him happier than he's been in years. That you're brilliant and capable and exactly the partner he needs. Maya took a deep breath and nodded. She could do this. She'd survived loan sharks and kidnappers. She could survive dinner with judgmental business people. The evening began with formal introductions in Jehun's expansive living room. 20 guests, a mix of Korean business leaders, tech industry executives, and community organizers. Jehun introduced Maya with obvious pride, his hand possessive on her lower back, making clear through body language and tone that she was his choice, and he would accept no criticism. The reactions varied. Some guests were genuinely warm, particularly an older Korean woman named Mrs. Choi who ran a nonprofit supporting immigrant families. She took Maya's hands and said in accented English, "Anyone who makes Park Jehun smile like that is a blessing. Welcome to our community." Others were coolly polite, assessing Maya with barely concealed skepticism. One particularly elegant woman in her 50s made a point of asking about Maya's education and family background in a tone that suggested the answers would be found wanting. University of Washington, Hospitality Management, Maya replied evenly. My parents passed when I was 20. I've been supporting myself and my younger brother since then. And now you run your own event company, the woman said. How convenient that you met Mr. Park when you needed financial assistance. Maya felt Jehun tense beside her, but she kept her voice calm. Actually, I founded my company with capital I earned through exceptional work for Park Industries. Mr. Park connected me with potential clients, but the business succeeds on merit. I'm happy to show you our client satisfaction ratings and rebooking percentages if you're interested in objective measures of quality. The woman blinked, clearly not expecting Maya to respond with data rather than defensiveness. Mrs. Choi laughed quietly. She has spirit, Jehun. I like her. So do I, Jehun said, his dark eyes holding Maya's with obvious affection. That's why I asked her to marry me. The dinner progressed with varying degrees of warmth and skepticism from different guests. Maya handled questions about their relationship timeline, her business plans, and her intentions toward Jehun with honest directness. She didn't pretend their story was conventional or hide the power imbalance that had existed initially. She simply stated the truth, that Jehun had helped her when she was desperate, that she'd fallen in love with the man underneath the power, and that she was building her own success independent of his resources. By the end of the evening, the skeptics hadn't become allies, but they'd been forced to acknowledge that Maya wasn't a gold digger or someone easily dismissed. She had substance, intelligence, competence. After the last guest departed, Jehun found Maya on the terrace overlooking the lake. She was still in the emerald dress, her natural hair elegant in the updo she'd carefully styled, looking out at the water with tired satisfaction. You were magnificent, Jehun said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Especially with Mrs. Han. The look on her face when you cited statistics was priceless. She hated me, Maya said without heat. She hated that she couldn't dismiss you, Jehun corrected. You commanded respect through competence. That's more valuable than being liked. Did I embarrass you? Maya asked quietly. With my background or the way things started between us? Jehun turned her to face him, his expression fierce. Never. You could never embarrass me. Your strength and integrity elevate me. Anyone who can't see your worth isn't worth my time or business. Maya smiled and pulled him close. I love you. Your intensity and protectiveness and the way you believe in me, even when I'm not sure I believe in myself. I love you, Jehun said. His hands cupped her face with devastating gentleness. My brilliant, fierce woman who takes on skeptical business leaders with statistical analysis and refuses to be diminished. They stood together in the cool evening air, wrapped in each other, until Jehun spoke again. Come inside. I want to show you something. He led her to his private office, a room Maya had only entered a handful of times. It was masculine and sophisticated, all dark wood and leather, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a massive desk that commanded the space. Jehun opened a drawer and withdrew a folder, handing it to Maya. Open it. Inside were architectural plans for a building renovation. Maya studied them, recognizing the location. The building adjacent to her event company space. I purchased it last week, Jehun said. I'm having it converted into a Korean cultural center and community space. Meeting rooms, language classes, traditional arts workshops, a commercial kitchen for cooking classes. Mrs. Choi will direct it through her nonprofit. And I'd like you to coordinate the grand opening event. Maya looked up at him with wide eyes. This is incredible. This will serve so many people. That's the goal, Jehun said. I've spent years building wealth and power. Now I want to build legacy, things that matter beyond profit margins. And I want to build it with you. Maya set the folder aside and moved into his arms. You're not what I expected, she said softly. When I first saw you at the hotel, I thought you were untouchable, remote. But you're the most deeply caring person I know. You just show it through protection and provision rather than soft words. I show it through ensuring the people I love never have to suffer the way my sister did, Jehun corrected quietly. Through using my resources to create safety and opportunity. Through building futures that trauma tried to destroy. You saved me, Maya whispered. In every way a person can be saved. No, Jehun said. He kissed her forehead tenderly. You saved yourself. You chose survival over surrender. Chose to fight for your brother. Chose integrity when theft would have been easier. I just provided resources. You provided the strength. We saved each other, Maya said, because I don't think you were really living before either. Just existing through guilt and grief and building empires to fill the emptiness. Jehun pulled her closer, his heart beating steady against her cheek. You're right. I was going through motions. Building power because I didn't know what else to do with the rage and guilt. Then you walked into my world with your exhausted eyes and fierce determination, and I remembered what it felt like to want something beyond revenge and control. I wanted to protect you, provide for you, love you. And now, Maya prompted. Now I get to keep you, Jehun said with deep satisfaction. Get to wake up beside you every morning and know you chose this freely. Chose me despite knowing exactly who I am and what I'm capable of. That's worth more than any empire I could build. They made love in his office with the city lights glittering beyond the windows, claiming each other with the fierce certainty of people who'd fought for their happiness and won. Afterwards, wrapped in Jehun's shirt while he held her in the leather chair behind his desk, Maya felt complete in a way she'd never experienced. This was home, not the beautiful house or the financial security. This, being held by someone who saw all her broken pieces and loved her anyway. Being chosen by someone powerful enough to destroy but gentle enough to cherish. The wedding happened in early autumn with cherry blossoms imported specially for the occasion. Small and intimate, only 50 guests, held in the gardens of Jehun's estate. Dante walked Maya down the aisle with obvious pride, healthy and strong in his formal suit. Daniel stood as Jehun's best man, grinning throughout the ceremony. Maya wore a dress that honored both her heritage and Jehun's, ivory silk with subtle Korean embroidery and a style that celebrated her figure without making her feel like a doll. Her natural hair was styled in an elegant crown that took hours but looked effortless. Jehun wore traditional Korean wedding attire, and when Maya walked toward him down the petal-strewn path, his controlled expression cracked into pure joy. He took her hands with reverence, his dark eyes wet with emotion, and spoke his vows in both English and Korean. I vow to protect you with everything I have, he said, to ensure you always have the freedom to choose your own path, to build with you rather than for you, to love you in darkness and light, in struggle and success, forever without reservation. Maya's vows were equally fierce. I vow to stand beside you, not behind you, to build our life as partners, to trust your protection without losing my strength, to love every part of you, the darkness you use to keep us safe and the tenderness you show only to me. Forever, completely yours. When they kissed, sealing their promises, the gathered guests applauded and Maya felt tears of joy stream down her face. This was real. This extraordinary, dangerous, beautiful love was hers to keep. The reception was elegant and warm, a celebration that honored both Korean traditions and Maya's own heritage. They served both Korean delicacies and soul food that made Dante declare it the best wedding food he'd ever eaten. They danced to a mix of traditional and contemporary music. They cut a cake that was a work of art. And through it all, Jehun never left Maya's side, his hand always touching her, his eyes constantly tracking her with possessive devotion that made several guests smile knowingly. Late in the evening, Jehun pulled Maya away from the celebration to a quiet corner of the garden. The party continued behind them, music and laughter drifting on the cool air, but this moment was just theirs. Happy? He asked, pulling her close. Deliriously, Maya said. She rested her head against his chest, listening to his steady heartbeat. I keep thinking about where I was a year ago, drowning in debt, terrified, exhausted, watching my brother die while I worked myself to death trying to save him. I had $3,000 and impossible dreams and no way forward. And now, Jehun prompted. Now I have you, Maya said simply. I have Dante healthy and planning his future. I have a business I built with my own hands. I have security and love and partnership. I have everything I didn't dare let myself want because it seemed impossible. You always deserved it, Jehun said fiercely. You deserved protection and care and the opportunity to thrive. I'm just grateful I was there to provide it. We provided it together, Maya corrected. You gave me resources, but I did the work. That matters. That makes this real instead of fantasy. Jehun pulled back to look at her face, his expression soft with love. "You're mine, Maya Park. My wife. My partner. The woman who makes me want to be more than the darkness that built me. And I'm yours. Every controlled, intense, possessive piece of me. Forever." "Forever," Maya agreed. She kissed him with all the love and gratitude and fierce joy she felt. "Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible. For saving me when I was drowning. For loving me when I thought I was unlovable. Thank you for choosing me despite the danger," Jehun countered. "For trusting me with your vulnerability. For loving the monster and the man together." They stood together in the garden while their wedding celebration continued. Two people who'd found each other in desperate circumstances and built something extraordinary from shared trauma and fierce devotion. Maya thought about the terrified woman who'd sat in a loan shark's office contemplating selling herself to save her brother. That woman had been strong but broken, surviving but not living, trapped in a nightmare with no visible exit. She thought about the black business card she'd almost thrown away, the offer of help she'd almost refused, the moment she'd chosen to trust a dangerous stranger because she had nothing left to lose. She'd walked through fire and found safety on the other side. She'd accepted help from a man who'd proven himself worthy of trust. She'd built a life from ashes and terror and impossible choices. And she'd done it beside someone who saw her worth even when she couldn't see it herself. Someone who used his power to protect instead of exploit. Someone who loved her with fierce totality and demanded nothing except that she choose him freely. She was no longer running from danger or drowning in debt or watching helplessly while people she loved suffered. She was standing in a garden full of cherry blossoms, wearing a wedding ring that symbolized partnership and devotion, beside a man who would burn the world to keep her safe. She was Maya Park, wife to a dangerous man, owner of a thriving business, sister to a healthy brother, survivor who'd become something more than survivor. She was loved, chosen, safe, free. She was home.